Hey there, welcome back. I am so glad that you joined me today. If you're a new artist and you're looking for a way to start to build your studio space, and how do you begin? Where do you start? Or maybe you're, an artist of a few years, but you're looking for some ideas on how to build out your studio. Well, I'm still on my journey, and I'd like to share what I've learned so far. So stick around. Okay, well, I started painting about 4 years ago, watercolor painting. And when I first started, I just had a few supplies and had no place to do it other than my dining room table. And my wife wasn't so keen about me leaving all my stuff out all the time. So I researched and purchased a Gorilla Painter box, and I had that box. It had all my supplies in it, and I'll go ahead and put a link to a video that I did already reviewing that on a trip in Hawaii. I think you'll enjoy it, so go ahead and watch that. But I loved my Gorilla Painter box, still do. But I've moved on how I use that space. But if you're still starting out, the box is great, and I'd like to go ahead and show it to you. Again, it's just this beautifully made box with leather and metal accents, and just made so well. And it was perfect for me when I was starting out, because I could put my palette in there, a few brushes, the water cups, and again, watch that video and I'll show you how I've packed it. And it worked great for my kitchen, or my dining room table rather, because I would just take that box when I was done, I'd load it up, lock it up, and then set it off to the side with stacks of my paper and my tabletop easel. That's what I was using at that time, and that worked for a good while. And then I think stage 2 sort of happened. I began to develop a lot more art supplies, paints, brushes, all the stuff that artists gather, right? We just love to gather our resources. And then, in the dining room, what do I do with all of that? So, let me show you what I did. I think it was pretty great setup, and I'd like to share that with you. Okay, here it is. This is a rolling organizer tray system, and I purchased it from the Container Store. Had to put it together, of course, not a big deal, and you probably could get something similar at Home Depot, IKEA, Target. These are all over the place, but this is the one I chose, and it's wonderful because it's got a great smooth surface that I could use on the drawers. The top drawer I put in my palettes and paints and all of that. Next drawer, my tubes of watercolors and some brushes and various supplies. Someday I hope to get into acrylics, and so I'm beginning to gather some of that as well. I started with Linocut, and so here are a bunch of those supplies. Do that a little bit, but that kind of gave me a tendonitis in my elbow. So right now it's just sort of stored here. And I have a little bit of a love for ink pens. As well, fountain pens rather, and the ink and supplies for that. And then the bottom trays are where I would keep the blocks of paper. And that temporary setup was wonderful because we had an entry hall closet. Our house is multiple stories, and so I couldn't store all of my supplies in a room upstairs. I had to, do it where I was painting, and I was painting at the dining room table. And so I would just roll that cart out of the entry hall closet and do my setup at the dining room table, do my painting, put things away when I was done, and roll it away. Happy wife, happy life, as they say, right? But it was just nice because it kept our home in order, and for many years, that's what I was able to do for my indoor painting time. Well, you know, things change, you grow. I got a little more serious about my painting. I'm still learning and growing, of course, but I really want to devote some real proper time into it. And we've created now this space in a former guest room that I'm using as my studio, my painting studio, my YouTube studio. You also see a lot of Starbucks ornaments on the walls, and that will show up in other videos where I do a tour of my Starbucks ornament collection. But for today, we're looking at my painting studio. Well, this room, as I said, we converted. We got rid of the guest bed, and then I got to dream, and I got to do some things. So let me show you what I've done. All right, so here is my studio space, the converted guest bedroom, and it serves a lot of uses. Here's my YouTube studio area at the desk there with a boom mic and some lights. My Starbucks ornament collection, which you'll see on other videos. I'll talk about that. But this is the corner that I've dedicated mostly for painting and my art supplies. Of course, I've been able to still use this cart, but now in a slightly different way. I mean, obviously I keep stuff organized in it, but I was able to add to that this flat file so that paintings that are completed and notebooks and blocks of paper, you know, then I've got places to store all of that. And since my studio is on the 3rd floor, you have to have coffee and tea occasionally, so I have that up here as well. But what I'm really excited about was creating this painting work area. I got a hold of this easel as a birthday present. Love it. I know that it's designed probably more for oil painters, but because I do so much plein air painting where you're standing out of doors, this is perfect. It's a standing easel setup, and it can lay at various angles. In fact, go completely flat if I needed it to. And it's just a beautiful piece of furniture. It just looks so nice. But then setting it next to this cart, I can use this tabletop surface just by putting out my palette and some water, and then I can just go ahead and paint. And so it's a very functional setup. Over to my left is where my brushes are stored, some water container, paper towels, Watercolor Artist magazine, and so it just has turned into a nice studio setup. And of course, because I'm still in a house with carpet, I've put down a waterproof tarp area there. And because, in watercolor, you're going to spill something and definitely going to splatter all the time. So this is my current artist space. I suppose someday I may go to another stage, but for now, this is what I've done, and I hope that you have liked it. So that's my new setup. It's still pretty compact. I mean, it is a dedicated studio space, but still a shared studio space with collections and YouTube and computer and all of that. But for my painting area, it's a dedicated space. Someday I would love to have a big, airy, open studio, perhaps if I got into oils and acrylics and, big giant canvases. But for now, this is wonderful. And I hope that you'll take some inspiration at the 3 stages of what you could do. If you're starting out and you've got just a few supplies and a dining room table, that's great, nothing to be ashamed of, but you'll want to put it away, right? Well, that box was perfect for me because not only did it contain things while I was at the table, but I could take it out and do some plein air painting. Just mount that box to a tripod and I was good to go. Well, then I moved up to having more supplies, and I had the cart, still doing dining room table, but more supplies needed a better place to go, and the box was too small. So that was stage 2. Stage 3 was actually developing this more dedicated space, and I can leave things out. Well, if you've got some different suggestions or things that you've done, would you let me know in the comments? And I would really appreciate you subscribing if you like this video, and pressing like, and sharing it with other artists and newbies. You know, we need to stick together, we need to learn from each other, and if we have lots of great comments and interaction in the comment section below, I'd love to hear from you, but you could encourage others. I've also got some links to various equipment that I found that I'm using, and I'll do another video someday on why I've chosen what I have chosen. But for now, you could look at some of those supplies, not only for my studio setup, but my artist supplies as well. Hey, thank you for being here, and I hope that you just live life to the fullest. God bless you. Bye-bye.